What is up, everybody? It is your boy Tuxy Boyo, back with a kind of controversial topic. We're talking about Harry Potter today. Um, I did a video almost a year ago about just the concept of rebooting Harry Potter into a show in the first place, and like what we really gained from doing it. Is it worth it? Is it necessary? Is it warranted? Um, there's something that I haven't really talked about, and it's been bothering me a little bit more as time goes on, and now that we have a trailer for it, there's really no ignoring it, so I guess we're just gonna have to dive right in. Now, Twitter has been having long conversations about race swapping characters from the source material to the adaptation for over a decade at this point, and it's exhausting every time because it's never really addressed correctly. They put a large emphasis on how many ginger-haired characters get race swapped to live action, Jimmy Olsen, Ariel, Barbara Gordon, Jim Gordon, the list goes on, I guess, Wally West, but they never really talk about the fact that plenty of ginger-haired characters get adapted to still be white, but they don't have red hair. Case in point, Matt Murdock, Pepper Potts, Mary Jane Watson, they abandoned her red hair in the second movie, things like that, it happens. I have long been of the opinion that race swapping a character doesn't matter as long as their race isn't something that's integral to the identity of the character. You have a character like Professor Charles Xavier from the X-Men. I think he should stay white. The point of Charles Xavier is that while he is a mutant, he's still a rich, straight white male. So his mutation, especially being that he's a telepath, his mutation is hardly something that gets in the way of his quality of life. And he is still an extraordinarily privileged individual. That's the point of the character. Even Magneto. I see the appeal. I understand why people want to take him and make him black. You shouldn't, though. Because if we're being completely honest, he's already a Holocaust survivor. He's already Jewish. He's already on Hitler's shit list. We don't need to start adding more things. On the other hand, a character like Black Panther, the king of a Central African country, should be black. That's just how that should be. But you look at a character like Jim Gordon. What's important about Jim Gordon? He's one of the few good cops in Gotham City. And he trusts Batman and Batman trusts him. That's it. That's all that really matters. I would even go as far as to say that you could have Black Peter Parker. I think a lot of times what we fail to realize is that these characters have existed for 60 plus years, And as such, they were created at a time that if they had been black, it would have probably killed any chance of them becoming household names. Imagine if Superman had been created as a black superhero in 1933. Was it 33? I believe so. I hope so. Imagine that, though. Nobody would have picked it up. Nobody would have picked it up, even if Peter Parker had been black in 1964? 62. Nobody would have picked it up. That's just kind of the way that the world was operating at the time. I would hazard to say that if Spider-Man was created for the very first time right now in 2026, and he's, supposed to represent New York, there's a good chance he'd be black, or maybe Latino, But that's neither here nor there. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room. The African American, or not even African American, just the black Snape that we have in the upcoming Harry Potter series. The character is not going to be played by Adam Driver, like a lot of people were speculating for the last decade or so. He's going to be played by Papa Essiedu. I really hope that I'm saying his name right. I had to look it up. I've never seen this. I've never seen this actor in anything. I don't know, the quality of his work. I don't know how good he is in general. I do see here that he was born in 1990, which would make him 36. That's a lot closer to the age that Snape is supposed to be than Alan Rickman was. Alan Rickman was 50-something when he picked up the role of Snape, so, you know, he was, what, 52, 53? Snape is supposed to be, like, just old enough to have an 11-year-old son because he went to school with James and Lily Potter. So I think that works. I think that works. Now, I long have felt that when we're race swapping a character, especially these days, it's not out of malice like people like to act like it is. Like, Chani from Dune is supposed to be white. Well, it's a desert planet. You know, if we're being completely honest, Arrakis wouldn't have a whole lot of white people left on it, except for the Harkonnens, because they're rich and they can stay inside. I think a lot of times it really just does come down to who gave the best performance, or the best audition. Like Halle Bailey for The Little Mermaid, I think she probably just gave the best audition. And Papa Essiedu probably did the same. And that's cool. You know, like I said, I've never seen him in anything. I don't know how good of an actor he is or is not. I just think that when we're discussing a character like Severus Snape, there are some things we need to keep in mind when we're considering race swapping the character. First off, the plot of the first book hinges upon Snape being reasonably suspicious. Harry sees Snape for the very first time in potions class, or not even in potions class, at the great feast at the beginning of the year, after the sorting ceremony. He sees Snape for the first time and just doesn't trust him. He's like, oh man, something's bothering my scar. It must be that guy. We know it's Quirrell, but all eyes point to Snape because he's headmaster of Slytherin. Or not headmaster of Slytherin. What is he? House leader? I don't know. I can't remember the term for some reason. But he's like the top dog of Slytherin at the school. And what has Harry been hearing this whole time? Slytherin pumps out nothing but evil wizards. You know? So he immediately is distrusting of Snape. And the entire rest of the book is signs and evidence and every little thing pointing towards Snape being a bad guy, being the one who's looking for the Philosopher's Stone. We can't... It's not really right to have the only black teacher at the entire school be the one that everyone's suspicious of, just because of the house that he was in. Pardon the interruption, it's your boy Toxic Boyo, and I wanted to take a brief moment to let you know about the Toxic Touch Productions Patreon. I'm not currently monetized on YouTube, but I still want to bring you the best content that I possibly can. I want to make those videos that you love, and I want them to be the best that they can be. But I need a little help. That's where you guys come in. If you want to support me directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/ToxicTouchProductions, or click the link in the description or the pinned comment. For even just $5 a month, you can get your name included in the credits at the end of the video, gain access to exclusive channels on the Discord, and you get specialized merch at no extra cost. It only gets better as the tiers go higher. Go check it out. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting my dreams. Now let's get back to the video. You know, like, yes, he does things. He's skulking around the castle at all hours of the night. He and Harry keep running into each other at inopportune moments. It looks like he's trying to curse Harry's broom. I get that. I get that there are things that Snape does as a character that make it seem as though he's the bad guy. I've read Harry Potter. I've watched Harry Potter, and I've listened to Harry Potter. I does this. You know, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. But the fact still remains that, like, right at the beginning of the story, Harry decides he doesn't trust Snape. The reason that they think Snape is the one that's after the Philosopher's Stone, and the reason that they think Snape is the one that's doing all of this in the background, is because he already made up his mind. He already made up his mind that it's like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the one. And beyond that, we find out later on in the story that James Potter, Harry's father, and his friends, known as the Marauders, used to viciously, and I mean incessantly bully Snape. He was the weird Slytherin boy and whatever. The point is that James was a shithead, right? And it gives context to the way that Harry is treated by Snape. He's like, you're so much like your father. He too was arrogant. He was so sure of his own brilliance. He used to strut about the castle. He looks at Harry and is reminded of James. Is Snape justified in treating Harry so badly because of his father? No, absolutely not. It's a character flaw. That's the whole point. But it makes it so that James Potter is even worse than we thought. You know, we don't ever really see more than 2, maybe 3 black students at Hogwarts at any given moment. If Snape is the only one right now, it's not very good. You know, a lot of black wizards go to school at Ouagadougou in Africa. That's what the school's called. I don't make the rules. But yeah, it just, I don't, you know, I hesitate to say that it makes James look racist. But it does. And not just James, but also Sirius and Remus. Peter, I don't even, if we're being completely honest, I don't even understand what Peter contributed to the group. I don't even know why they brought him along. I think he just bothered them until they agreed to let him be part of the Marauders. But whatever. I think it just, with the exception of Peter Pettigrew, it brings down the reputation of all of the Marauders. It makes them all less likable characters. So you know what's probably going to have to happen to make it not so bad by the time we get to book 5 and we start looking at those flashbacks? We're probably gonna have to turn one of the Marauders back retroactively. So when we get to Prisoner of Azkaban, either Remus Lupin or Sirius Black is going to be black. Because James can't be. Harry's already a white kid. So we can't, you know, say that James is black. It has to be Remus or Sirius. Could be Peter. Won't be Peter for a reason that I'm going to get to next. And if we're being completely honest, like, yes, this is speculation. This is not a scenario of me, like, man invents fictional scenario and then gets mad about it. I'm not really mad about this. I just think it's worth addressing. But if you were to turn Sirius black, I mean, come on. I think the problem lies right there in the name. And then if you were to turn Remus Lupin black, why is the other black student cursed with werewolfism? It's whatever, you know. And one other reason that I want to talk about Snape being black and how it doesn't really work from a narrative perspective is that he was a Death Eater. Yeah, Severus Snape was a Death Eater for many years, and he was not just any Death Eater. He was Lord Voldemort's like most trusted advisor. To the point that, like, it never even crossed Voldemort's mind as a possibility that Snape was a double agent. He had full trust in Snape from the moment he came back to life to the moment that he had to kill Snape. He didn't kill Snape because he thought that he was betraying him. No, he killed Snape because he was standing in the way of mastery of the Elder Wand. That's it. He regretted having to do it because he trusted Snape so much. You know? And, like, it never even occurred to Voldemort to peer into Snape's mind. Right? Because the only wizard who is a more gifted legilimens than Snape is Voldemort. Maybe Dumbledore. But I think it's Voldemort and then Snape. I don't think that Wizard Hitler, who can't even stand the concept of somebody being Muggle-born, would have allowed a black wizard into his ranks. Not just allowing him to be a Death Eater, but his most trusted advisor. Snape was Voldemort's right-hand man. That's why Snape knew the plan. That's why he was able to warn Dumbledore and beg him for help. Because Voldemort trusted Snape enough to tell him beforehand. I just don't think that I don't know. And it's like, what are you saying Voldemort's a super racist? Yes. Yeah, I am. It's gonna be hard to justify. I really do think so. I don't know how you're gonna spin it to be that like Voldemort is all about wizard purity and blood purity and like and just, I mean just all of this like eugenic stuff, but then like his right hand man is a black guy. Ask yourself this: would Adolf Hitler have had a black man as his right hand man? No, no, he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have. I just don't. I can't see that working narratively. And again, none of this. My intention in this video is not to throw shade or cast hate or any of that towards the actor here. Not at all. I just wonder if we thought this through. I don't even blame him for auditioning. You know, why not? Why wouldn't you? I don't know if he expected to get it, but you know, I think in a certain situation you have to be like, hey, you gave a great tape. We're gonna have to pass on you just for authenticity to the character. You know, but whatever. I think that the worst thing that's come from all of this, and I mentioned this in my trailer reaction video over on the second channel, is that like you have performers on both sides now. You have right-wing grifters and idiots on Twitter like John Otto's, who are acting like they've ever given a fuck about Harry Potter or the wizarding world at large, for the sake of saying that white people are going extinct. They're erasing black people, or they're erasing white people because there's 1.5 black actors in the show. Like, it's Snape and Hermione. And Hermione is not the show's fault. J.K. Rowling said out of her mouth that Hermione was black the whole time, despite writing in the books that that wasn't the case. So, yeah, they're just casting in line with what the author said. That's not white erasure. That's Joanne saying stupid shit like she always does. That's the only thing she's good for. Anyway, and then on the other side, you have people that are overly tolerant, that or people that are like acting as though you have to be okay with this or you're a racist. It's not a big deal. You only think so because you're a racist or because you're a grifter. And I'm like, okay, I think we can acknowledge that this is an unwise casting decision, right? It doesn't have to be so extreme that I'm a racist because I don't think that this was the right call. Is that fair? You know, like I legitimately think that it's not such a, pardon my French, such a black and white issue. I think that when you have understanding of the character and the world of Harry Potter, you can make an inference that this might not have been the greatest casting decision. Now, having seen the trailer, I think he looks good. You know, I like his outfit, and I like that they gave him proper, dignified black man hair. That's great. It's better than I thought it was going to be. I legitimately thought they were just going to slap a Snape-style wig on him, to be completely honest with you. This is Warner we're talking about. You know, they canceled the Batgirl movie, you know, and we all know what was happening there. Point is, through all these ramblings, I feel very strongly that this casting was motivated by generating controversy to get people to talk about the show. And I mean, Snape is in every book, you know, so he's going to be here the whole time. He's going to continue to make people upset on both sides. Again, I'm not upset. I'm just attacking it from the perspective of a you know, a remorseful Harry Potter fan that doesn't really give that much of a shit about race swapping in general. But this is going to continue sparking conversation for as long as this show runs, assuming that it does cover all 7 books eventually. And I don't know, I'm just a little concerned about that. He's already mentioned receiving death threats. I think that that's unacceptable. Moses Ingram, who played Reva in the Obi-Wan series a few years ago, went through the same thing, and that wasn't even a situation of race swapping. That was a completely original character to the show, who just so happened to be played by a black actor. And people lost their fucking minds over it. So, the you know, it doesn't have to have anything to do with the material or being true to the character or anything like that. A lot of times people are just upset to see black people in their favorite franchises. That's it. You know, going back to Star Wars, I'll never forget the hashtag boycott Star Wars Episode 7 movement that happened in 2015 because there was a black stormtrooper. And you can try to revise history all you want, but look it up. That's what it was about. There was nothing else in that first trailer that could have possibly gotten people that hot under the collar, other than, oh, I don't know, a crossguard lightsaber. People were upset about that, but not enough to start a damn boycott. They were mad because Star Wars was finally back after 10 years, and the first thing that they saw was the face of a black man. They couldn't handle it. It freaked them out. They got scared. And they were like, I'm not gonna watch this movie. And then what happened? It was like the highest grossing film that Disney had ever put out. This is before Disney acquired Fox, so the Avatar movie didn't count yet. So yeah, this was like the most profitable film that Disney had ever released. And, you know, it's just a reminder that at the end of the day, none of this matters. Twitter's not a real place. YouTube's not a real place. And when the show comes out, it's going to be successful or it's not, and it's going to have nothing to do with this. You know? But that's all I got for you guys today. You can let me know in the comments what from the books that never made it to the movies you're most excited to see get adapted. For me, it's Ludo Bagman. I know a lot of people have been talking about Peeves. They're like, oh, we're finally going to get to see Peeves maybe, because, you know, we've got longer adaptations here. Peeves would be cool. I just never cared that much about him, and honestly, getting to see him in Hogwarts Legacy was good enough for me. For me, I want to see Ludo Bagman. He has a pretty big presence in Book 4 that's completely glossed over because we don't get any of the Quidditch World Cup in that movie. Oh, so see, Ludo Bagman and the Quidditch World Cup. That's what I want to see. So we have to get to Goblet of Fire. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you later.